Hi, this is MTB214. Thanks for stopping by the channel. Thanks, subscribers. New and old, if you haven't subscribed, it'd be cool to join the fam. We're finishing the H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu Mythos tales tonight. The last story, it was pretty short. So the name of this one was The Hunter of the Dark. And it's a short one, only from 595 to 615, so like 20 pages. So just like 20 pages in this book. So it's about Robert Blake, who's a reporter. So they're like the person that's narrating isn't him, but so like the person that's narrating it is like looking into this strange building there. It's like a closed down church, and about the history of it, and goes and finds out about like it's been about 60 years since that, like no one was there in sort of like a shunned area that no one really talks about, and goes there, says like, avoid it, it's evil. So then it's about like 60 years ago, Robert Blake, a reporter, goes looking into what happened at this church in the past, the strange happenings there, and it was some sort of cult, like, it was like a normal church, and then it changed to be something else. And with that reporter looking into it, that there's some like metal box and in it, and there's like demonic, evil, cult things with it, that it brings about some sort of demon, alien creature that causes problems, and that thing was even in ancient Egypt. It's called like Azathoth. It was one name for it, and like back then they even tried to like bury it, get rid of it, so people can't have problems that it causes. But then over time it was dug up, it was found again, and then trouble happens, and this cult got possession of it, and like use it with their rituals, what have you, and took this building and sort of changed it, and bad things happened, people disappeared, so it's like, seems like human sacrifice possibly. But so this reporter is like, trying to get to the bottom of it, Blake, and he's like, his journal was found by like the narrator, goes to the building, like doesn't really hear like much about it, like goes to the building, goes in and finds like a skeleton in there, and like different things, and a journal, a diary in there about like different things that happened, and then goes reads it, and it was the journal of the Robert Blake character. So the Robert Blake had went in there in the past, like it's closed off, snuck in, like trying to find a way in, the gates locked and everything, was able to get in through a basement window, and then the basement was all like dirty and dusty. It's been a long time since anyone was there, and he's going through looking. He goes and like sees strange things in there. There's like strange artwork. It's not like a regular church. It's of the occult nature, and this reporter is trying to get to the bottom of it. He has some notes written down about like people going missing and this and that, and then like finds out about the history of it, that like with ancient Egypt, and then like in modern times that this cult has gotten hold of it, and then like people are against it, and something bad happened, that it's sort of gone, that like the cult's gone, that church is closed off, boarded up. So he starts having nightmares, like what's up with like that relate to it, of like different worlds and different creatures and stuff, and he's very nervous, and he like thinks that whatever that creature is that's inside of the steeple of this abandoned church building knows where he is, and is like out to get him. There's a thunderstorm that happens, and like it makes him even more frightened. The electric went out, and like this creature supposedly cannot be in any light. So like a vampire stays in the dark, doesn't go out during the day. It's sort of the same with this creature that like stays in the dark. So with the power being out, it can go out and do as it pleases more. So he's terrified, like he's in his home, like in his office looking out the window, and like, terrified. He writes in his diary a little bit of this about like, being nervous and different things. And then what happens is the next thing is that he's like, people see him like in his, through the window, see him up there in his office, like, think nothing of it at first, and then they see him later in the day in the same spot, like, something's off. So the police are called, go in there, and he's been killed, but it's like, doesn't really make sense. There's the thunderstorm and all, but like no windows are broken, doesn't look like any damage, except like, he's been electrocuted somehow, but how is this possible? So it's very strange and like open-ended about like what exactly happened to him. There was another part in it that when he went inside of that abandoned building again, that like, he's trying, like, he sleepwalks, he's in the building, and then like, he wakes up and like he can hear like, the creature there. He's scared. He runs down the spiral staircase and like, goes out downstairs into the basement, out the window, and leaves. Then he wakes up and like, he's fully dressed at home on the floor from sleeping, and he's like, covered in cobwebs and dirty from being in there with the basement being all dirty. That was a little early on in it, but like, it's sort of open-ended, and like whatever that cult is, they stirred up some dark thing and it's caused problems. So it's definitely like an interesting story, short story to read. The book has different things that sort of relate. It didn't really mention in this, but it's like a metal box, and they have like metal cylinders and other things of metal. It's like otherworldly and other stories. So that's like a thing that relates. I have Darth Bane there because like, with the electricity, and that's how like, this reporter passed on. So it's definitely an interesting story, and there's different connections about the Cthulhu mythos tales that like, this creature has like tentacles, and there's different kind of like aliens in different ones. So it's definitely an interesting story, and there's connections between the different ones. So, and perfect time to end with Halloween. Just 2 days away. Today is Wednesday. It's gonna be on Friday. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, comment, like, share. See you in the next video. Happy Halloween.